For 6 straight years, we've watched Jake Paul stack up wins by knocking out retired plumbers, washed-up pros, and ex-athletes who probably never even sparred for real. The one time he faced another influencer, he got absolutely schooled. It wasn't even a contest.
For the winner by split decision, Tommy TNT.
But to be fair, Jake's been hustling ever since. You can't deny he knows how to bring the drama and keep eyes glued to the screen. Still, stepping in with Anthony Joshua when the original plan was Tank Davis, that's a wild upgrade. It's like going from Weenie Hut Jr. to the Salty Spittoon in one night. No shade to Tank, but Joshua, that man's a walking powerhouse. The size and power difference was straight up shocking, like something ripped out of an anime battle scene. Fans were already joking that Jake was about to get sent to another dimension, and then the bad vibes kicked in early. Jake was caught backstage hanging out with 6ix9ine. Yeah, that's 6ix9ine. Rumors say he's still either on probation or house arrest, and honestly, if that's the kind of energy you're bringing before a fight, it's already looking like a disaster waiting to happen. Yeah, walking out with 6ix9ine was a straight-up disaster move. Like seriously, who thought that was smart? You've got 2, maybe even 3 of the loudest dudes on the planet, with Logan Paul creeping in the back trying to grab whatever screen time he can.
Got a prediction for the fight, Logan?
And let's be real, Tekashi's music in 2025, that should have been the first red flag waving right in Jake's face.
It'll be a knockout for sure.
But somehow it got even worse. Jake fell victim to the Drake curse. Yep, Drake threw down $200,000 of stakes money chasing a $1.6 million payout that never had a shot. That's like betting a hamster could knock out a lion. Now, to give Jake some credit, he did sneak in a few solid hits. He landed a couple of clean shots, and for a second, it almost looked like he had a plan. But every time his glove touched Joshua, it was like punching a brick wall. The man didn't even blink.
Miami, your winner, Keno Marley.
Joshua's counterpunches were snapping Jake's head back like he owed him money.
We ran out of time, sorry. Don't worry about...
Honestly, Jake's best jab all night was just proof he was still hanging in there. By the second or third round, it was getting ugly. Jake was down on his knees more times than anyone wanted to count, and when he wasn't, he was running around the ring like it was a track meet, ducking, dodging, backpedaling, doing everything possible except actually fighting. The crowd could feel it. The fight was slipping away fast. It got so bad that even the ref had to step in like, you gonna fight or what? That's wild, because that's literally Jake's whole job description. You're supposed to throw hands, not run laps. By that moment, everyone watching knew exactly what type of night this was turning into. Fans didn't pay to see Jake dance around. They tuned in hoping to see him get rocked. And oh man, Christmas definitely came early. When Anthony Joshua landed that clean, straight punch, it looked like it could have wiped out a family tree. I still don't know how Jake stayed on his feet after that. The fact that he didn't go completely out cold might actually prove he's got more chin than people thought. But still, that was next-level power. I don't think Jake had ever been hit with that kind of force before in his life. By the end of it, his face looked like it had been redesigned live on camera, swollen,
Come to mind right now?
Man, I'm gonna take a little break.
bruised, and unrecognizable. Then, as if that wasn't enough, Jake jumps on Twitter talking about double broken jaw, gimme Canelo in 10 days, flashing x-rays like it's a trophy. Bro, your jaw's literally hanging on through a thread. Take a seat. Still, I'll give him his props. He showed crazy heart out there. Most people would have been stretchered out, but Jake stood tall, broken jaw and all. If anything, this is still the storyline people are going to want to see unfold later on. And honestly, Jake didn't do that bad. He took a beating, yeah, but he stayed in the ring long enough to show he can still pull big numbers. The issue now is, after going toe-to-toe with Anthony Joshua, there's no way he can go back to fighting washed-up nobodies. That chapter's officially closed. If I had to call it, the only fight that really makes sense next is a Tommy Fury rematch. That's the one everyone actually wants to see, especially now that Jake's got a few more rounds of legit experience behind him. With both guys having something to prove, that rematch would be pure chaos, and people would definitely tune in for that. But let's be real, Jake spent half this fight either on the mat or trying to stay upright, and that so-called low blow moment, total joke. Nobody's buying that. The ref should have started taking points way earlier because Joshua had him tied up, cornered, and looking lost every few seconds. For most of the night, Jake was hanging on for dear life, clinging like a man who suddenly realized mid-round that maybe, just maybe, he picked the wrong opponent. By the final stretch, Jake was stumbling around the ring like a wounded gazelle, maybe from pure exhaustion, maybe from straight-up fear. Either way, you could see the end coming. And sure enough, Joshua pounced like a predator who had been waiting for the perfect moment. It was brutal, but honestly, predictable. Classic Jake Paul behavior. More worried about trolling, talking trash, and putting on a show than actually fighting. It's entertaining, yeah, but against a beast like Joshua, that's basically a death wish. Jake must have really thought all that tongue-wagging and clowning was going to throw Joshua off his game. But Anthony? Nah, he came in locked in and laser-focused from the first bell. Dude looked calm, cold, and calculated, like a surgeon with gloves on.
Rough tactics gotta stop, okay? The fans didn't pay to see this crap, okay? Amen. You're gonna fight, but fight within the rules, okay?
While Jake showed up loud, flashy, and completely unready for the storm waiting in that ring. And once the punches started flying, the difference was crystal clear. And right on schedule, Logan Paul had to slide into the frame, making sure every camera caught his perfectly timed, worried brother expression. You could practically see the
official prediction. What are you actually feeling?
Yeah, 5th, 6th round knockout. I'm putting him to sleep.
Thought bubble over his head saying, "Do I look good in this angle?" Before the fight even started, he told interviewers that Jake would win. Of course he did. What else was he gonna say? But you could tell by the look in his eyes that even Logan knew how this night was going to end. I'll give him this, though.
Obviously, I'm saying a Jake Paul knockout, and I don't see this fight going more than 3 rounds, bro.
Logan was probably genuinely worried for his brother, but man, he couldn't stop being loud and extra the whole time, sitting ringside, yelling round after round about how Jake was losing every second, like he's some kind of expert analyst. Meanwhile, Jake was out there burning cardio, running circles, and doing everything he could just to survive. And that's classic Logan right there. The man just can't help stealing the spotlight. Like, bro, your brother's getting his face turned into modern art, and you're over here trying to make sure your reaction goes viral. Every camera angle somehow found him, hands on his head, shocked face locked in like he's auditioning for an Oscar. Then, of course, Ryan Garcia had to jump in with his 2 cents, saying Tank would have done him worse. And honestly, he might not be wrong, but come on, that's just Ryan's ego talking. These days, he's spending more time live streaming than actually boxing. And let's be real, he's still a little bitter about that loss to Gervonta Davis. Maybe sit this one out, champ. Not every fight needs your commentary. Quick side note, apparently Jack Doherty was spotted way up in the nosebleeds. And honestly, that's exactly where he should be right now. My guy probably should stick to his Cobra Kai gig, because the boxing ring clearly isn't his stage. Still, I'll admit, I felt a little bad for him. Dude wasn't even given a second to speak after his debut win. Not a single interview, no camera time, nothing. Cold world. Meanwhile, Jake Paul is definitely going to be haunted by this fight for weeks. You can already picture it, waking up in a sweat, replaying that moment Joshua's glove connected. But let's give him his credit. Stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua takes serious guts. The man was 30, maybe 40 pounds heavier, a former world champ and an Olympic gold medalist. Jake knew exactly what kind of storm he was walking into, and he still showed up. You gotta respect that kind of bravery, even if the outcome was rough. That said, fans still want the real ending, the one where Jake gets completely slept in the ring. The fact that he somehow stayed conscious is the only reason people are still talking about what's next. The internet's already buzzing with ideas, but honestly, the Tommy Fury rematch makes the most sense. Both have history, both have something to prove, and this time the stakes would be massive. But what do you think? Should Jake go for the Fury rematch, or is it time for him to hang up the gloves before things get uglier? At the end of the day, this whole fight was a harsh reality check, not just for Jake Paul, but for anyone still believing he could hang with the true heavyweights of the sport. Anthony Joshua came in cool, calm, and calculated, like a surgeon with gloves on, while Jake showed up loud, flashy, and completely unready for the storm waiting in that ring. And once the punches started flying, the difference was crystal clear.
Still, as much as people love to roast Jake, he can't deny the dude's impact. He's brought millions of new eyes to boxing, filled arenas to the brim, and made the sport trendy again, even if it's built on drama, controversy, and chaos. That's the wild part. Whether he wins or gets humbled, people still tune in. Love him or hate him, Jake keeps boxing in the headlines, and that's something even legends can't always pull off. Now the big question, what's next for Jake? Does he go after Tommy Fury for redemption, take a break and regroup, or double down and keep swinging until the wheels fall off? Whatever his next move is, one thing's clear. This loss isn't the end of Jake Paul's story. It's just another wild chapter in the saga of a YouTuber who refuses to stay in his lane. Looking back, this fight played out like a blockbuster movie, just not the one Jake imagined himself starring in. He wanted to be the underdog hero shocking the world, but instead, he walked straight into a reality check on what levels really look like. Joshua wasn't just fighting to win, he was fighting to remind the world what a real heavyweight looks like, and that message came through loud and clear. For Jake Paul, this loss cuts deep, but it's the kind of defeat that either builds you up or breaks you down. If he's smart, he'll take this as a wake-up call, not a downfall. Step back, take a year off, and go back to the basics. Sharpen those fundamentals and stop turning every fight into a meme factory. Because truth be told, Jake's got heart for days. It's his discipline and humility that still need to catch up. And whether people love him or can't stand him, they're still going to tune in for the next fight. That's the Jake Paul effect. He's boxing's chaos engine. Every time he steps into that ring, the world stops to watch, waiting to see if he'll shock everyone or get humbled again. He's unpredictable, and that's exactly why no one can look away. This was the night Jake Paul finally met his match. From the flashy ring walk to the brutal finale, everything about it screamed cinematic. It had the hype, the tension, and the heartbreak all rolled into one. No excuses, no lucky punches, just a cold, hard reality check served with heavyweight precision. But through all the madness, you've got to give him his props. Love him or hate him, Jake Paul pulled off something no one else from YouTube ever managed. He made the entire boxing world pay attention. Every win, every loss, every viral clip, it's all part of the wild legend he's building, one insane fight at a time. And something tells me this story's far from over. As the dust settles and the lights fade, one thing is crystal clear. This isn't the end. Not for Jake Paul, not for the drama, and definitely not for the non-stop chaos that follows him like a shadow. Because if there's one thing Jake's mastered, it's keeping everyone watching when that next bell rings. Love him or hate him, he knows how to stay the headline. In the days after the fight, the internet went full throttle, turning the whole night into a non-stop meme festival. Clips of Jake getting rocked were everywhere. Slow-motion edits, savage remixes, and reaction videos flooding every feed. But hidden underneath all the laughter and trolling was something real. For the first time in a long time, people weren't just laughing at Jake Paul. They were starting to respect him, even if they wouldn't dare say it out loud. Because yeah, he lost, and he lost big, but he showed up. No script, no filters, no fake storyline. Just a guy walking into the ring with a world-class heavyweight, fully aware of the storm that was coming. That kind of courage, most people wouldn't even step through those ropes, and that's what hits different about Jake. Behind all the chaos and clout chasing, he's got real guts. Maybe that's what keeps people glued to every fight, not just the knockouts or the talkback, but the fact that Jake keeps stepping right back into the fire. Every single time, it feels like he's daring the world to count him out one more time. And somehow, whether he walks out a winner or gets humbled again, he still ends up right back in the spotlight, exactly where he knows he belongs. In the end, this fight was bigger than just wins and losses. It was about legacy. Jake Paul learned the hard way that no amount of hype, money, or followers can shield you from real power. And Joshua himself, he reminded everyone that experience, discipline, and skill still rule the ring. It was raw, intense, and absolutely unforgettable, the kind of matchups people will be talking about for years.
No matter why you tuned in, whether you were rooting for Jake to shock the world or waiting to see him get humbled, you can't deny it. The man brings energy, attention, and emotion every single time he fights. He's unpredictable, controversial, and magnetic, and that's exactly what keeps boxing alive in this new era of entertainment and spectacle. So yeah, Jake got battered, but his story's far from finished. The spotlight's still locked on him, the internet's still buzzing, and his next move is already being plotted behind the scenes. Whatever happens next, one thing's guaranteed. When Jake Paul steps back into that ring, the entire world's gonna be watching all over again, waiting to see if he finally redeems himself or gets another brutal reminder of what real boxing looks like. When the lights finally dimmed and the crowd started clearing out, one thing was obvious. Jake Paul might have lost the fight, but he won the moment. Every camera was still pointed his way. Every post-fight clip was blowing up online, and every headline had his name in it. That's the wild part. Even in defeat, Jake somehow turns chaos into currency. You could see it in his face afterwards, bruised, swollen, but still smirking like he knows the game better than anyone else. Because at the end of the day, Jake doesn't just fight in the ring, he fights for attention, and that's a battle he never seems to lose. Whether he's getting knocked down or standing tall, he makes sure the world's still talking about him, and that's a kind of power no punch can take away. Backstage, there were whispers that Jake was already plotting his comeback. Maybe a grudge match, maybe a revenge tour. Nobody knows for sure. But if history's taught us anything, it's that Jake Paul doesn't stay down long. He might take his hits, but he always turns pain into promotion. So yeah, the night ended with a loss, but the legend, it's still growing. Because love him or hate him, Jake Paul has done what few ever could. He made boxing unpredictable again. And you better believe, when the next bell rings, the world's gonna be watching all over again. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Drop a comment below. Who do you want to see Jake Paul fight next?